Hey, read through the word. Today is November 2nd, and today's lesson is called The Last Night. Here we are, Thursday, Holy Week, Thursday, April 2nd, 33 AD, one day before the crucifixion of Jesus. And there's a lot that happens on this day. So we're going to go through what happens on this day, and it's today, tomorrow, and the next day will have some edges that flow in together. I was trying to stay with the idea of what's happening each day of Holy Week, but there's so much going on, and I think sometimes we get a little confused what happens when, so I'm going to try to slow down to go through those. So the verse I'm looking at, it says, Matthew chapter 26, verses 57 and 58. Then the people who had arrested Jesus led him to the home of Caiaphas, the high priest, where the teachers of religious law and the elders had gathered. Now, remember that the teachers of religious law and elders had gathered, because there's that group that we've been talking about. There is a group there, the Sanhedrin, that we've talked about yesterday, that we'll continue seeing, and we will go into more detail about the trials of Jesus tomorrow. But in today's reading, I want us to see what's happening on this last night. Okay. This is the last day that Jesus will spend with his disciples. And so you see the order of the day. That's it. The order of the day of what's going on that day. So but it's the last day. So you will see all of these conversations that Jesus has over a wide variety, but the last things he's going to tell his disciples, and the things that they're going to need to get through what's coming, and to become for this the next steps that happen to them, to where they become, that they, just like us, they are not who they were, but they're not who they are yet going to be. They're in that. And so Jesus is preparing them for that next step. It is that Peter and John had secured the upper room. So that's the thing we get. Peter and John secured the upper room. Jesus eats the Passover meal with the 12. And there he institutes the Lord's Supper. He institutes the new commandment. The new commandment. This day is Thursday of that week. Many churches, if you're in a high church, which is a liturgical church, and you follow the church seasons, then this would be considered Maundy Thursday. Is talking about the new commandment that Jesus gives, that you love one another. And and the washing of the disciples' feet and all of that is instituted on this day. And when we remember during the year, we remember Holy Week, this is the day known as Maundy Thursday. And so he institutes the Lord's Supper, he washes the disciples' feet, and then he delivers the upper room discourse. There's this group of the other gospel writers cover different parts, but John gives us the largest section of discussions that happen between the time Judas leaves the upper room during the Lord's Supper, or the Last Supper, and the walk to the Garden of Gethsemane. There's this large group of conversations that happen, which I love. John chapter 13 through John chapter 17 is known as the Upper Room Discourse. Is these conversations. You get the I am the vine, you the branches there. You get Jesus' high priestly prayer that he prays for us. John chapter 17, that says, Lord, sanctify them with your truth. Your word is truth. And that great conversations that the disciples have there. And John records this with keeping to what he's trying to lay before you, belief or unbelief. So John records this all happening on that Thursday evening. And so you have that. You have Jesus predicting Peter's denial. You have Jesus and the disciples going to Gethsemane. And as always, there is so much that's going on in our reading on this day that I could do deep dives. I joke that when I prepare for these lessons, I prepare for each lesson like it's an hour long, and it's 10. So I'm always trying, I'm sitting and studying and trying to get there, but there's never enough time to go into all the detail I want to and to talk. But I just remember we do this every year. So I don't cover it this year. Next year, we'll talk about it. So we're here together. So we get through this day and we remember that here they are sitting together to celebrate Passover. And Passover is a celebration, a feast of remembrance. It's a feast of remembrance of what God has done for his people in remembering the time they left Egypt. But it is also in anticipation. So remember the first Passover. The first Passover is celebrated before God ever does anything. He tells them, celebrate this Passover, for this night you will leave. So the Passover is a celebration in anticipating God's rescue of his people that had not yet happened. And once again, here we are. The Last Supper is a celebration in anticipation of God's rescue of his people. So it's everything. If we go into all the detail of all the Old Testament stuff that's going on this night, of every single thing that Scripture records for us. There's lots of things out there that people say occurred on this night and certain things that happened. We don't have record of that. What we do have record of, we need to pay close attention to. We have record of that's what this is all about. And so they go and they pray, and we know that the disciples are not prayer warriors that night. Jesus has to say, the spirit's willing, but the flesh is weak. And Jesus is arrested in this. And then there's a secret, which we're going to talk even more about this tomorrow. But there's a secret at night, unofficial meeting of the Sanhedrin to decide, all right, remember we talked about this already. We're going to take Jesus down. How do we do it? What do we charge him with? So we get that. They decide that Jesus has committed blasphemy. Mark chapter 14 talks about this. That is what Jesus will be tried with. And that is the charge that they want him killed for, is blasphemy. Now see, this is what's very interesting. So when we go through this tomorrow, I'm not going to have time. I'm going to go through some of this today that we won't have time to go through. This is very interesting in that you've been around here long enough with me to understand that I love to see how God weaves time together and how he has his plan laid out and all the parts come together at specific, there's my word again, that the fullness of time, it is the fullness of time. So this is the fact that's going on. So up until 3 years before this, the Sanhedrin did have, we always hear Sanhedrin could not kill Jesus. That's why we have to take him to Pilate. But why can't they kill Jesus? Why can't they kill him? Up until 3 years ago, before three days before Passover, 3 years, so 3 Good Fridays before, what occurs on that Good Friday would not have happened the way it did. it wouldn't have been death on a cross, because the cross was the Romans' way of killing. But 3 years before, the Jews could have done it. But 3 years before, Pontius Pilate had removed the right of execution. He didn't want the Jews to get too much control. He didn't want the Sanhedrin to have too much power. So he removed capital punishment from one of their punishments. So that's why they're not able to do it, because Pilate had taken it away 3 years before. And so because of that, they can't kill Jesus. They have to have the Roman government do it. And so it all is going to come to where the Roman, we're going to have Roman names and Roman historical figures and historical times that we can know that he was the prefect of Judea during this time, that he was in control under the reign of Tiberius, that he died under the reign of Caligula, that we can now have historical record of all of this, that God's moving everything to give us this record here of what we have, that everything that occurs on this day, and Wendy has gone over this with you for 10 years. I'm here now, and whoever else joins our team as this continues, we're going to look at different things. But today, I wanted us to look at everything, all the things that are occurring on this day, and that God's hand is on every single one of them. As much as, throughout history, we have this time of who killed Jesus. The Jews killed Jesus. These killed, in all actuality, we killed Jesus. Our sin. He died for us. But how this all worked out, and that God is weaving the Roman government into this, that because that's the way Jesus would die, in a humiliating death for the whole world to see, that would now be recorded in the Roman government's historical accounts. So it couldn't be hidden away. It's out there for the whole world to see. I think it's fascinating that God knows us and is giving us everything we'd ever need. As John continues to build this argument for us, belief or unbelief. Do we believe that he is who he says he is? And all of this on Thursday just keeps adding to the evidence. Do we believe? We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.